Welcome, welcome, welcome to Teal Time with Hope. I am the host, Hope, and I hope everyone is doing well. Today, I've got a wonderful lady that was happy enough to give me some of her time. She's a very busy lady, and you're going to get to hear a lot about her story and the things that she's involved with. I think you're going to be not just impressed, but also inspired, because I am for sure. So without further ado, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, but I'm just going to say Meredith, and then she can pronounce her last name for y'all because I don't want to tear it up. Welcome, Meredith.
Thank you so much, Hope, for having me. It's Mitstifer. I always say like a baseball mitt and then stifer.
Mitstifer. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we got Meredith Mitstifer with us today on Till Time. Thank you. And we're just going to jump right into it if it's okay with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, just please introduce yourself and let us know, like, how did you get involved with ovarian cancer, and what are the things that, you want to share with the public in whatever fashion you want. You can sing it too. I mean, I don't mind.
Well, a little background. I was, going through my doctorate program in clinical psychology. I was married and we were experiencing infertility issues. We were not able to get pregnant. Fast forward when we decide to try perhaps to go the infertility treatment procedure route, everything was put on hold because an unknown mass was discovered in an ultrasound. I had always suffered from gynecological issues. I had ovarian cancer cyst rupture. I was told I had endometriosis. I had several laparoscopic surgeries about my endometriosis. And I kind of just thought, I needed to live with this constant uncomfortableness. I didn't like anything tight around my waist. I would go to the bathroom often. And this all started, Hope, when I was like 19. So, getting married and then trying to have a baby, having infertility issues, it really wasn't a shock to me that I was going through this, given I had so much gynecological history starting at the age of 19. So anyway, we decide to go through a possible procedure. They find this mass, everything gets put on hold, and I'm told to consult with a gynecological oncologist. Not to worry, 5% chance of cancer. I decide I've had so many surgeries already. Can I just wait a month until we go back in, or I have to endure another laparoscopic or worse, open surgery, and just see if it goes away on its own? After a month, I was told that it had tripled in size and that it had to be removed immediately. So I went to my pre-op appointment at the hospital the day before surgery, where they make you pee in a cup to make sure you're not pregnant. And the nurses came out and ironically informed me that I must have become naturally pregnant in that month of waiting. So I had two choices. It was to go through the surgery, but the pregnancy would need to be terminated since I was so early stage pregnant, or to come back when I was 4 months gestation. And so I got up and left. So I knew that this was like a miracle to me that I couldn't believe. I don't even honestly remember being able to get pregnant
Oh, that's
or
amazing.
having intercourse that would lead to pregnancy, because we were so worried about what was happening or going on inside of me. And then at 4 months, I had a partial staging surgery, open surgery, where they were able to kind of take the baby out and put him on the side and remove what they felt was an unknown mass. They didn't know what it was. They didn't think it was cancer. But unfortunately, when they went to remove the mass and they were being so cautious with the pregnancy, it ruptured before they could get it all out, spreading its contents inside me. And
Mm.
about 4 days later, pathology reports confirmed that I had a rare form of ovarian cancer. It was clear cell epithelial, which typically is more aggressive and more resistant to frontline treatments. From there, I decided to also put treatment on hold until after my baby was born, because many moons ago, we didn't know what chemotherapy did to a fetus. And I knew this would probably be my only opportunity to have a child. So I had the baby. He came early. He came on New Year's Eve, so he was my little tax break. But he needed neonatal care, and 6 weeks later, I started intensive chemotherapy. I had also endured a couple more surgeries after that, and knock on wood, so far so good. And that baby is 22 years old, and I am 22 years of no evidence of disease.
So just going back, if it's okay, Meredith. So
Yeah,
y'all, I've known her through social media. We were actually talking before the recording started, and we're like, did we meet in person? And there's a good chance we might have, but at the same time,
absolutely.
we meet so many people in this journey that, I can't recall whether that was the chemo or the fact that I went into menopause or just time has gone by. But yeah, either way, I'm just so happy to know you. And at the same time, I didn't know fully your story. And so 22 years ago, you started having problems. And unbeknownst to you, in that 1 month of waiting, you actually got pregnant. Is that correct?
Naturally, yes.
Naturally pregnant. And then you said something about how they took the baby to the side in order to do some stuff inside. That, as somebody who's never had a kid, my mind is like boggled. Like, how did that? And then do they put the baby back? How
Well,
does
that's
that work?
interesting you say that because I remember nightmares after so they cut me from, the top of my abdomen down as far as they could, and they open you up, and then they want to try to remove this mass while protecting the fetus. And when they closed me up, I remember I had like, I don't know, 38 staples, 36 staples down my stomach. It wasn't pretty. It was this massive scar went around my belly button, as you and I, see a lot of times for debulking surgeries for women with ovarian cancer. But yet, I was thinking, as this baby grows, are those staples going to start popping out all over the place? Or like, is this going to hold him in there for the, time I had to keep those staples in? So I did have a lot of
Wow.
nightmares about that.
I can imagine. And how old were you?
I was 4 months gestation and I had just turned 30 years old.
Wow, that's young too. I mean, I was diagnosed at right before my 41st, and that's another reason I like to share stories of
Yeah.
women who have gone through it pretty young. And so, miracle baby, I think. I mean, I wouldn't put it any other way. I'm sure, right? So, I mean, it's
He
insane
likes
in an
it when I
awesome way.
refer to him that way.
I bet he
Now that
does.
he's 22, right? But I call him my whisperer. We always hear that ovarian cancer is the disease that whispers. I'm grateful, not only, of course, to have been able to have a child since many of my peers cannot. I believe, I wonder if he, slowed the progression down or whatever had ruptured or because, hormone levels were different while I'm pregnant. I don't know.
And also when in Meredith, when you decided to go forward with the pregnancy, and then because they did the debulking, is that correct? While they went inside.
Actually, only one side. I was pretty adamant about controlling my whole situation, I think, and
Well, that's
despite a
great.
lot of recommendations, I had got a second opinion at Johns Hopkins, and that individual said, "Listen, you're 30. I don't know what your childbearing wishes are. I don't know if you'd be able to have more children since you already had infertility issues, but you're also going to go into surgically, induce menopause. I would recommend leaving the other ovary if it is indeed not affected." And so while we didn't even know what we were dealing with, that is what I had requested. So they felt they, had everything from that mass. They didn't see it anywhere else. But the bad part was that it ruptured and it was clear cells.
Mm.
I did have the other ovary removed a few years later and the rest, But while I was pregnant, it was hard for them to do not only full debulking because I'm pregnant, but even a significant staging couldn't be done until after I delivered my son. So after the C-section, I had the staging and the
How many months later from that first surgery? You were 4 months, right?
I was 4 months gestation and he came 5 weeks early. So I would like to say about maybe another 3.5 to 4 months, I carried him
And no
and had
treatment, no
no treatment.
nothing. You just kind
No.
of just waited. How were you? Like, did you feel like there was something still going on with you that like?
I was scared, of course. I think I was scared that I wanted to know what I was going to do. I wanted to be here to raise my child. I was determined. I was angry. And then, I think I was a little dark too. I mean, I think anybody that hears the words you have cancer just kind of shifts your whole platform a little bit. And so it was bizarre. But then
Yeah.
I'll have people say, "How did you do it while you were pregnant?" And quite frankly, Hope, I ask people how they do it without. Because at least I had him to focus on.
That's a good question. Like, I mean, it's not that we don't have something to live for, of course, but it's like even more significant when you have this baby that you want to raise and you had problems with infertility, and now you have this baby and you're like, okay, I've got way, in a way more to live for and to keep going forward and not, let it consume you with that kind of darkness or that fear. I mean, I think that's beautiful. And then when you had the baby, so you just had delivered a baby, and now you have to go right into treatment. Is that correct?
About 6 weeks, yeah. 6 weeks after delivery, I went into treatment and started the frontline chemotherapy that everyone still gets today, unfortunately. I don't know that we're starting to move the needle, and that is so wonderful, that we have other not only medications, PARP inhibitors, but also trials that are hopefully going to bring our Teal sisters more options.
Definitely. Did you back then, so this was 22 years ago, when it comes to like mental health, was there where you were at, was there any talk about like, did you want to talk to a therapist, or did you feel like you could have talked to a therapist, or how did you feel mentally?
I don't know if I talked to anyone during the pregnancy, but afterwards, here I am in my doctorate program for clinical psychology, and I was probably engaging in what every psychologist says not to, right? So I isolated. I thought I could handle this all on my own, a little bit of a control freak, probably, if I'm being honest. And I went through a bit of an experience with my relationship I wasn't expecting. So the biological father, we had already struggled through infertility issues, so we were kind of in this bizarre space. And the cancer diagnosis, I think, just closed that space. And so, he didn't mean in sickness and in health. And I had my doc refer me to a friend of his in Tucson, Arizona, which is where my parents had lived. And he said, go out there and heal and finish your treatment. So I did that, and they helped take care of my newborn while I finished my treatment. I went back and we tried to make it work. I finished my doctorate, but in the end, we did end up getting a divorce. So, that was just a whole other layer of grief. Cancer already gives us a lot of loss and grief, and it just wasn't what I was expecting, I guess, in my lifetime trajectory.
No, I mean, who could, right? I even forgot about the fact that you were doing your doctorate. So you're over here doing your doctorate, and then you get pregnant, and then you're going through cancer, and then you're going through treatment. In the midst of all of that, it was like the tipping point of your relationship with the biological
Yeah.
father, and that's
Yes.
kind of all compounded together.
Yeah, and so I think I just kept to myself, and I couldn't imagine like all of these things were happening to me. And my mom, I'll make sure I blame her where blame is appropriate. She signed me up for this like healing group retreat in Arizona, and I was really angry with her because first of all, I didn't want to leave my son, right? And I didn't want to go to a support group. I mean, here I am, a psychologist. I think I can take care of myself. And it was really the best thing for me.
It was.
So it was.
What I mean, if it's okay to ask, like, what would you recommend that to just about anybody? The kind of experience you had with that?
Well, I think that in combination with my friends taking me to my first walk with an organization that supports ovarian cancer survivorship was something that really opened my eyes. So it was first, hearing that you're not alone. I think you know this too, being so young. I did chemo with everyone that was like twice my age. And so I really felt even more isolated. But going to that walk and going to that healing retreat, I met other people in kind of similar situations, which presented kind of a comfortability, an acceptance, an ability to kind of be around people that got it. It really opened my eyes. When I heard their stories, it empowered me to share mine. And I think that that's where my advocacy then kicked off, as well as my thrivership. Like I wasn't surviving anymore. I was thriving. And so I was really grateful for those opportunities. So yeah, I really definitely encourage people to not isolate and not believe that they can do it on their own, because I'm a prime example of why that doesn't work.
I appreciate you sharing that, and thank you to your mom. And even though you didn't like it initially, it turned out to be what sounds like the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that stood out to me, people say, I don't want to go around any more sad stories. They weren't sad stories. They were actually empowering stories. But one of the facilitators came over to me and they were trying to discuss power animals. I'm kind of a person, I'm like, evidence-based treatment is my thing. I'm not going to have this power animal. talk, like, you guys are all crazy. And, I pull the owl, right? And she was like, oh, the owl's about wisdom. And, how do you think you identify? And so I just kind of played along with it. But she said, the greatest wisdom someone gave me was you don't need to forgive to move forward. And if that's what's holding you back, don't let it. And so I was mad, right? I was mad at the disease. I was mad at my relationship. I was mad that this had been thrown into my life circumstance. And I was sad. I wasn't just mad, I was sad. And it kind of was freeing where was told you don't have to get to that step first in order to, start moving forward. My favorite quote is by Kay Yao, and she says, when life kicks you, let it kick you forward. And so
Oh, I love that.
yeah, she was a NBA basketball coach, and she had died from cancer, but she had said that, and it just really stuck with me. Like, sometimes we feel like some things have to be in order before we can complete the next step. Gosh, if anybody knows it better, cancer survivors, nothing is in any order. We do a lot of waiting, we do a lot of hoping, we do a lot of praying, we do
There's a lot
treatment
of
options.
unknown, right? There's so
Yeah.
much unknown out there. Will it come back? Is this it? Is this, how is this going to affect me? There's just so many, things involved with going through cancer. But I tell you what, Meredith, I know you may be told this a lot, and coming from somebody that, has survived cancer 3 times, I don't know how I would have, gone through all of that, the stressors involved in that. I mean, that's a lot on one person at such a young age. I think 30 is really young, and you did it. You kept being you were being kicked forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's what hope is about. It's what resilience is about. And it's about, how do I use this experience to help others? And I think that's what kickstarted, no pun intended, kickstarted your walk with others. And here you are all these years later, and you continue with such an amazing story of advocacy. And I would love for you to let people know what got you really involved with advocacy. Who are you with in your advocacy, and other things that I think are important to talk about with fundraising and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my biggest role and my affiliation is with the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition, and they are a nationwide organization that supports survivors and caregivers in their mission, kind of in the here and now, right? They're a boots on the ground grassroots organization that believes in programs and resources that support the survivor and their families in the moment. And that is something that really helped me a long time ago. And so I remember telling myself, when I am better and a better person to be around, I'm going to give back to this organization in some way. So it started with just volunteering and attending some events, to kind of being a volunteer manager for Arizona, where I live currently, and doing a few fundraising events to support their programs and resources, to then joining their board of directors for the national organization. And then for the last 6 years, I've been honored to be chairman of the board of directors. I just finished my 6th-year term, and I'm staying on for one more year to help the next chairman. But in that time, not only have I been able to see kind of where all this fundraising money is going, are we doing all the things that I believe in and that I believe would have helped me during my time, but also the creation of new ideas and watching that implementation from an incredible leadership has been really just, I don't know, the icing on the cake. It's a good fit for me. It's the best volunteer gig I've ever had in my life. And I'm just proud of the work that they do to help people in their time of need. I've also done work for the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance. I have gone to Washington, D.C. and advocated on Capitol Hill with my son, and gave him that experience as well, to ask for more research dollars, because we know research is important. We need more treatment options.
Absolutely.
And I participate in their survivors teaching medical students here at the University of Arizona, which is just, it's great to know that our stories are impacting individuals more than just textbooks, because you and I both know all of our stories are so different. And, narrative medicine is finally making its way into the world, and we need to listen to the whole patient's story to make sure that we're understanding them and not just create or think that we have to be checks in a box. No one thought I was going to have ovarian cancer at 19, let alone 30. I didn't meet the standard check boxes. And while I don't think we should overreact, I just don't think we should also underplay symptoms that we know are a clear sign of this disease. So I'm also a volunteer with the Department of Defense with ovarian cancer research as a consumer reviewer. So I just like to be as involved as I possibly can. And I write for a wonderful magazine called Brighter. It's actually out of Texas. It's a magazine for women with any kind of cancer. I'm their mental health contributor writer for the magazine.
Oh, wonderful. I got to go and read some of those articles
Oh,
now.
yeah, brighter.org. Any survivor can order the magazine for free and have it delivered to their home. It touches on, relationships or clothing with ports or how to redo your makeup, or it was inspired by a dear friend, Jean Madej. I don't know if you knew her. She was an ovarian cancer survivor in Chicago, and her best friend is in Texas. And she was a real estate agent that traveled. And she said, one thing I miss, or what cancer took away, is that I don't enjoy magazines anymore because I don't feel like I can relate to any of them. Like Cosmopolitan does not relate to me anymore, right? Way back when.
Right.
And she wanted to start a magazine for women that, could relate to different stories. So after she had passed, her best friend brought it to light. And I am just proud to write for that magazine every quarter. It features all different types of survivorship, thrivership, and ways to cope.
I'll make sure to add that link. Thank you for saying that, because
Yes,
I never heard of
please.
it. It sounds like, honestly, Meredith, I feel like I know I'm doing what I can on my side, but when I hear stories like yours, I'm like, holy cow, I need to catch up. I need to, I want to, not because I have to, but because there is so much that we can be doing. And when I hear people share their stories of their advocacy and their time to volunteer, while at the same time, you have a full-time career. Is that correct?
That is correct. I work so that I can live. I don't live so I can work. Yeah, I'm a clinical psychologist for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I've worked for them for 18 years. I'm a couple years from retirement, so I'm looking forward to the next job that I want to do.
I don't know how.
but-
She's only like 35, 40 at the
Thank you.
most.
You're so sweet.
You look
I
great. You look
Thank
great.
you. Thank you. I've gotten really involved in NOCC's endurance platforms. So for our athletes out there, or I don't consider myself an athlete, but more of an endurance wannabe, that's also been kind of a track that I've taken a lot of joy in. My son and I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 2023 to celebrate our 20 years of life together, as well as to take hope to new heights. Like that? You like that, Hope?
I love it. I love it. They didn't take me.
No,
But
we should have.
that would have been funny, right? To literally take hope to new heights. But I think it's the word hope, right? Of being named Hope, but also I've always credited the word in the meaning of what HOPE is capitalized. And to know that people are using that word hope, because I feel sometimes people are losing hope. And I'm happy to see people taking that name and embracing it, the word hope rather, and taking it to new heights. Oh my God, in a way that I do not think I could have been successful doing it. So good on you and your son.
Oh, I was with other survivors of ovarian cancer that did it as well. So we had a mixture of legacy members, those that have lost a loved one that wanted to raise awareness and fundraise. But also I was joined by other, ovarian cancer sisters, and we all made it to the summit. I have to say, for me personally, I think that's what inspired all of the rest of the things that I'm doing, because I've never had an experience like that, or experienced quite the impact that trip did. It was the hardest thing I ever did. But
I was going to ask, how hard on
it
a
was
scale of
horrible.
1 to 10? Was it like 15?
It was a 15. I mean, I don't really like to camp. So camping on a mountain was already, a challenge. And then getting up to keep climbing every day. But to do it with my son, well, there are no words for that, but it was pretty cool. So I'm continuing that. My husband, my new husband I've been with for 17 years. And He's enjoying the endurance platform as well. So we took up cycling as a way of doing not only something together, but riding for Team Teal for the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition. So we've enjoyed the Tour de Tucson, Tour de Scottsdale, and we hope to do some more cycling. We'll be going to Ireland in October to do our first marathon. Not that I run.
Yes. You guys, I seriously, y'all, their social media for their not marketing, but their social media about going to Ireland is quite hilarious, quite intelligent, and I always like seeing your new videos or your new TikToks or things like that on social media, and it just gets people's attention. And I think you're just taking it to a whole nother level of endurance. And now you're going to a place that I love, by the way. I love Ireland. Are you on the NOCC? Like when you go onto their main website, is there anywhere that we can find you? Do you have a public social media that I can pass on? I mean, I just want to like get more of you out there. And
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, Facebook, it's Meredith Mitstifer, my name. My Instagram handle is Psych Dr. Death 5. It's because I used to be the death row psychologist
I
for
wondered
the
about that
state of
name. I did.
Arizona. I should probably change that for professional reasons.
I'll get all your handles. I'm not over exaggerating, and she did not pay me to say this. It's for
Oh,
real, for
thank you.
real. She's inspiring, and I love your relationship with your son too. Like the fact that he came at such a hard time. I think that's where hope comes along as well. My mother told me she named me Hope because, well, she said God whispered to her hope, and that she was going through a hard time, and with hope, things can get better. And
Absolutely.
you and your son and your relationship that I've seen is quite magically beautiful.
Thank you. What's even more beautiful, if I can just have a mama moment, is
Sure.
that he just graduated with his biomedical engineering degree at the University of Arizona. He is,
Woo-hoo.
yeah, he's continuing his doctorate, and his research is for an early detection ovarian cancer screening tool. So he's been
Wow.
working on it since he's been a junior in high school with Dr. Jennifer Barton, and I could not be more proud. Did I think when I sat in that hospital 22 years ago that this would be kind of my life? No, right? We don't expect to go through that cancer journey. I don't even like the word journey, but the adventure. And now that he has taken an interest, so that hopefully, like he says, all kids can have their mom.
That's beyond beautiful. Having a child when you didn't know if you could have a child, and then you going through everything that you went through, and y'all being so close, and then him going into the work to try to find something that's good that can help future women. To say that y'all are close, I think, is probably the biggest understatement that you could say. Because I don't know, I look at your pictures and I see things about y'all and how he's just right there with you, and he's been with you, and he's doing amazing stuff. And I don't have kids, but if I had a child, I'd be like so super proud of him. And yeah, big shout out to your son. What's your son's name?
His name's Ryan.
Big shout out to you, Ryan. You're
Thank you.
amazing. And how could you not be when you have an amazing mom? Hashtag just saying.
Those are the big wins, but I think if I was to tell anybody that's in the thick of it now, like the small wins matter. And so don't think that it wasn't about like the scan or the bite of food or getting your senses back or being able to laugh again. Like all of those small things matter and they do build up. So I also was told that pain is inevitable when we go through this diagnosis and there's so many losses, but suffrage is a choice. And so I know there's going to be pain, but whether or not we just continue to keep ourselves in suffrage is a whole other story. And I definitely realize that some people's stories, the suffrage is greater. And I don't disregard that. I've lost many friends to this disease. I have
Yes.
many friends in the fight of their life with this disease, and I hate it. But I also know those same friends that try to find the little joys every day and that they're living the best, in the best way that they possibly can. So for me, that was really helpful. Like I was either going to stay stuck in that dark cloud or let even small dark clouds follow me, or I was going to do something. So I just try to keep finding my joy. I'm volunteering for NOCC, which, by the way, is ovarian.org. We have so many great resources for individuals, free meals for survivors and their caregivers.
Oh, by the way, it was NOCC that when I went through my second recurrence, I reached out to them and they sent me a week of food. I mean,
That's
I got to experience that from the being, the patient/warrior. I was just so overwhelmed with gratitude, and I didn't know that they did that. But when I talked to them, they were like, no, we're going to send you something. And I had a whole week of food that was taken care of. And I didn't have to, go through wondering what I was going to eat or if I had the strength to go grocery shopping, because I'm single. I don't have, I don't have kids. I'm not married. And unfortunately, my mother, who was my caregiver, she had died right at the same time from COVID. So it was kind of like, and my cat, I haven't trained her to go grocery shopping yet. But no, seriously, that was so wonderful that NOCC did that. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes I forget certain things, memories of that time was really weird. And so, yeah, they do amazing things. And I have gone to 2 of their September walks and runs.
going for the last couple years, so maybe that's where we met too.
Have you been doing it in Fort Worth?
Yes.
Have you really? Okay. Well, then there you go, y'all. I feel like something tells me that we met in person, but that very well could be it. And are you going to be in Ireland for this next one?
No, I think I will be around. I'm hoping to get to that one in Dallas. I'm trying to see what other ones. Every year I try to pick 1 or 2 that I've never been to and go to it. So I try to spread the love. So
Well, if you come to this
Dallas
one, yeah.
typically is usually one that I always attend.
Oh, well, I look forward to seeing you then on the next one. I'm going to do my best to attend it as well. Thank you so much for sharing about your story. And there was a question I was going to ask. So you said you've been no evidence of disease for 22 years now?
Yeah, I had some masses kind of redevelop, but I didn't require any additional treatment. But that's when I had that other ovary taken out. I was already in menopause. Chemo had put me in menopause. So it wasn't like my ovary was producing, I had kept it in there in case I would be able to have more children, which is definitely another, whole topic that I'm really passionate about, is making sure that women are given those options before chemotherapy and debulking.
That's wonderful. 22 years now. I know staging, to some degree, people don't want to talk about certain, what stage they were. I personally talk about it because I was almost 4, right? I was stage 3C. It was quite aggressive but because of how you were diagnosed and everything you went, did they ever give you a stage?
Well, I think when they went in, they felt that it was encapsulated, so it would equate to stage 1C. But because it ruptured, there was no staging on my documentation. And then I waited, right? I closed up my abdomen and I waited 4 months. So, but I still believe I must have been early stage enough. My physician had removed my appendix, my fallopian tubes way back then, way before we were even talking about it like we're talking now. So I just think that he did an amazing job of, being up to date and knowing, to take every preventable measure I allowed him to.
Right. Did you have a specialist? I know when you were going, there in Arizona? Was it in Arizona?
No, it was near Philadelphia. It was in Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's where my son was born, and that's where my initial surgeries happened. So my gynecological oncologist was out of the Lehigh Valley area. And then I finished treatment, chemotherapy, as well as my maintenance with a gynecological oncologist here in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay. And the last thing I was kind of curious about is when you were, because you had issues at 19. I mean, I had issues with my menstrual cycle and things for so many years. You had started having issues at 19, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you were finally, diagnosed, I know you said your son is the whisper, and I really love that, because it is what we say is the cancer that whispers. He was your whisper. Were there any other whispers that you were having?
Before I was diagnosed, I don't know. I think I was more or less in my own head thinking I was crazy, right? Like that I couldn't advocate anymore for my own health because it just seemed like no one seemed to think it was a big deal, right? Being in college, everyone's like, oh, wear jeans and a t-shirt. Like the word jeans was frightening to me because I didn't like anything tight around my waist. I was always going to the restroom. I had painful intercourse. I had ovarian cyst rupture. I mean, was this all really just endometriosis? But now that we look at clear cell and the research behind clear cell, 50% of cases have endometriosis. So, there's definitely a little correlation there. And maybe we need to take more time and listen to all those symptoms, or at least follow it, right? Make sure that we're journaling our symptoms and how they're persistent over weeks, not just once a month.
I'm glad you hit on that, Meredith, because I have a friend out in England. She journals everything. She's had, issues with her menstrual and things like that, and she's going to get some procedure in the future, but she journals everything. And I wasn't a journaler, right? I didn't journal. I know in my mind there were these things that were going on that I can look back at, but I think that's so important to say. Make note of what you're experiencing so you can look at that as and then you can take that to your doctor, and hopefully they'll listen. But I think we do as women. I think especially as women, I've said that before, we worry about everybody but ourselves, and we
Isn't that the
ignore
truth?
what's going on, and we have to stop that, because it can be what actually keeps you alive.
Yeah, we know our body's the best, right? So advocating on behalf of yourself and your own body. And I think what I admired about my gynecological oncologist is that he insisted that I went and got a second opinion. There was no ego involved. There was no I know everything. He was like, you're 1 in 25 million that have ovarian cancer at a young age, that you're pregnant. I need you to be sure of what decisions you make. So go and hear another opinions. That led me to John Hopkins. And then I talked to women even till today, and they're still so nervous about offending their physician, or they don't feel heard. And I'm like, we have one life, don't worry about someone else's feelings in spite of your own health. So definitely get a second opinion, feel comfortable with whatever treatment decision you want to make. Know it is your decision, right? They're not all great decisions, but it is your decision when it comes down to it. And make sure you feel heard.
Absolutely. That's just incredible that your doctor was that open and transparent, because I don't know if that's the majority. And I have never heard of a story of a doctor saying, you know what, I insist that you go get a second opinion. So good on him. And I can see why you felt like you were in good hands while you were going through that.
Yeah, I thought everyone had that experience, and it wasn't until I got into advocacy that I realized, no, people are not having this experience. So if I can help share that with another survivor, clinical trials and the myths behind them, or genetic testing and how valuable and powerful it can be for our future generations. I know it's scary, and we don't want to know too much sometimes, but gosh, these are really important things to educate ourselves on, so that we can start making a difference, and that no one loses their life to ovarian cancer.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask, did you have any knowledge of ovarian cancer before you were diagnosed?
No, and worse, I only had what the new internet told us 22 years ago, so it was terrible.
That's also a good point, right? 22 years ago, I was almost 14 years ago, so I had a little bit of a leg up. It's harder when you don't have that technology to look things up and hear no commercials, no talks at colleges, no, conversations. I didn't have that. And if you don't know, you don't know. So I think that's what motivates me and motivates everybody that I talk to, is I don't want another woman to be where I was, if I can help it. And if I can help, save a life, then it's worth sharing the story. And I know
I would
not
love to
everybody.
see signs and symptoms in every gynecologist office, right? Because we all, as women, I praise the breast cancer organizations that have gotten, how to do your own breast exams. That's so important. What to report. We don't go anywhere in October without seeing pink, and I think that's so important. I want teal to be the new pink, right? I want teal to be recognized just as much, and for women to be educated that they don't have to deal with pain that may be something else. And it's not to scare them. It's just to make sure that they don't let symptoms go on too long.
Yes. And I think I got to a point, Meredith, where I'm I'm not here to scare you, but gosh darn it, if it scares you to get you to that doctor, then you know what? So be it. Whatever it takes to make you more aware, to get you to be mindful of that there are things that happen, unfortunately. And like I shared with my last guest, I read something about, unfortunately, more more and more people at a younger age are getting cancer. That's like the trajectory of what's going on right now. Thankfully, yes, less are dying of it, but there are more that are getting it at younger ages. And so I think that's just kind of a reminder that, like, we're not invincible. Young people can get it. It's not this old person's disease that I think you and I grew up thinking. I definitely thought of cancer as something that happens when people are way older, and it's just not the reality. And you are an example of that. And so thank you for sharing and taking time out of your day. Is there something that you would just like to leave the audience with? Anything that comes to mind?
Well, I just want to say thank you, right? Like for doing your platform and listening to the stories and information that you put out. I think that's so incredibly important. And I know that it's all out of love and hope and inspiration. And so that other women, can be well educated. So I think together we are stronger. And there's just so many great organizations out there that do really great things. Please know that you do not have to go through this alone. And there's a Teal Sisterhood or whatever color ribbon you may be donating that, I think powers in numbers. And, I just want everyone to live full in spite of whatever is trying to destroy us sometimes.
Absolutely. In a world of madness, there is always that beacon of hope. And I hope that you continue to keep moving forward and doing it to it, as I like to say. And I'm going to follow you with your trip to Ireland, and I'm going to make sure that I put your tags on my details for this episode. And I say it a lot, but I mean it. I don't say words just to say words. I appreciate you saying thank you to me, but I thank you for not just giving me your time, but for all the advocacy that you have been doing for many years. It's not something that all survivors and warriors do, because it's so emotionally hard to relive what we've gone through and then see how so many are going through it still. And sadly, so many women are still passing away. And so it's hard. It's because, like, you meet people and you get to see their stories and you know them, and then next thing you know, you find out that they have passed away. It can be kind of daunting and sad, while at the same time, I know for me, Meredith, it motivates me to keep advocating, to keep sharing stories, and to let more people know that there is a thing called ovarian cancer and there are symptoms. And though we don't have something like a pap smear or a mammogram to detect ovarian cancer, if you know what the symptoms are and you hear the stories, because they're all so different, maybe it'll stick with somebody, or somebody will remember those things, and it'll get them to the office of the doctor sooner than later. That's my hope. That's why I keep doing it.
My hope too, Hope.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will keep in touch for sure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You're welcome. All right, y'all, that's all I got on this one. Thank you so much. This has been Teal Time with Hope. I am the host, Hope. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. God bless. Bye.